I think people with money, they do museums. They have a certain way, a certain culture. They get into the museum. People in our community, we wasn't taught by our parents, like, go to the museum. It was either go to the library, go to school. We were limited what we could do. And as growing up, I guess it goes from that generation down, and maybe it's because it wasn't advertised. Who knows? I would have never had that opportunity to take my grandson. So maybe he'll remember that, or maybe he wants to go again. And that's something that he could be educated in, and he could teach his family.
Art promises to bring about change, but many art institutions still serve the elite. Museums receive public money to serve the public, but they hear from and answer to the people who show up, a small segment of the population that doesn't reflect the whole. To truly serve the public, museums must understand what their galleries feel like to the demographic majority outside their current visitor base. It turns out, this isn't easy. Free days aren't enough to bring in new voices. Studies show they usually serve people who already visit museums. Beyond the admission fee, a trip to a museum can incur transportation, food, and childcare expenses, alongside the opportunity cost of time diverted from work or leisure. This is a lot to ask, especially if you're not sure what you find in the museum will reflect your lived experience or heritage. Look at Art, Get Paid is an arts research program that pays people who rarely, if ever, go to art museums to visit one as a guest critic. Critics share their time and expertise on what the museum looks and feels like from the perspective of a newcomer. Cash payment ensures that critics leave the museum with a currency that holds value across all intersections of race and class within our capitalist system. The program was created by a small independent group of visual artists and researchers. The first iteration took place at the Museum of the Rhode Island School of Design, a comprehensive art museum in Providence, Rhode Island. Critics were paid with institutional funds from various academic divisions at RISD. The program was advertised in English and Spanish on public buses, and a final 41 participants were selected. Priority was given to those who had never been to a museum, along with people of color. Historically, museums have sought to enlighten and civilize a public. Look at Art, Get Paid asks, how can the museum be enlightened by those who are not presently served by it?
I'm from the North End, and it's pretty isolated, so you come down here, it's really busy, and it seems, the word bougie, I guess, and you come down here, you think, it's just artsy kids, and they're gonna look at you all weird because you got your Jordans on and stuff, but I'd say once you hit Broad Street on a certain side, nobody's really coming downtown to see, because I think the museum, you got to pay $25, $45 to get in, which really isn't the case, but they don't know, so they're not going to look to go down that avenue.
I've lived in Providence good 40 years, and I never knew this was a museum, and I come by this street a lot.
So I never felt like, oh, okay, I guess it's not necessarily not a public space, but maybe it's just not a space for me.
I'm really glad that I did come today because I was like, I never knew. And there was a picture by Jean Metzinger out here, and there wasn't enough paper to see all the things I seen with that one photograph, but I will take a picture and send it to Walgreens and put it in my living room and post the size. That picture just kept calling me.
I'd get closer to some of the pieces, I'm like, stupid tea kettle thing or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell is this? And then I'm like, wow, there's such cool little, like, art in this. And I'm like, maybe it's not something that I would have bought or something like that, at the time or even now, but as a tea set, but as a piece of art, it would be something cool.
And then there's just another thing that I did ask one of the guards. You know that table, I'm sure a lot of you liked it, that's out there? I asked him if you could purchase, if anybody, you know, there's rich people that might come to the museums and have a lot of money. And I said, if I ever win the Powerball, I'm coming to get that table. So I asked him, can you purchase any of the displays? And he said, no. But you know, when you got money, I'll work around that. Just saying.
The first thing that happened to me was I went and set off an alarm. I wasn't even doing anything. I just like was looking. I was leaning too far, and the alarm goes off, and I'm like, oh my god.
I just am so afraid that I'm going to do something wrong. Like, I don't want to mess with anybody's art. I don't want to break anything. I don't want to be disrespectful. So I'm really hesitant to like interact with things unless I get something telling me like it's okay.
Because I really didn't see like a lot of inner city people here. Only just like people who, you know, can afford pieces like this in their house or go to these schools. If like somebody who came here, you know, just Spanish speaking, they wouldn't know where to go or like what any of the descriptions were saying. And I felt like, oh, you know, that could have been me or anyone.
Because I was just looking at them, I like it or I don't like it, and then I stopped to read them. And once I read them, I actually liked it a lot more. Yeah. So the more I read, the more I understood, the more I enjoyed.
Te capto el nombre y la fecha, pero se supone que es algo histórico que por eso está aquí, pero eso no lo puedo captar.
Encuentras el autor, encuentras el título, pero cuando vas al año, tú te confundes porque el autor tiene un año, el título tiene otro año, y cuando tú lees la historia tiene otros años, tú dices en cuándo se hizo.
Tú sabes, si tuviera como ciertas palabras clave hasta en inglés, uno podría deducir. Aunque fuera en inglés, pero que uno puede deducir que es por el poco idioma que uno...
Claro.
O no sé si es que el museo está dirigido a otro tipo de persona.
For my personal home culture, no, there was no like representation.
Same.
I mean, because I'm Afro-Caribbean and I didn't see much African art, and I did not see any Caribbean art or even Caribbean artists really being represented. So for me, if I were to go to a museum and I see that stuff, that automatically excites me and stuff. But I didn't
see any. I'm Cuban, so I didn't see any neither Mexican or Central American.
I'm Dominican, and I would have loved to see anything Spaniard or Latin American.
Yeah.
Heck, I would have been happy with seeing something even from Brazil. I understand that, you know, like sometimes it can come down to the cost, but it feels weird given that Rhode Island has such a high population of Latin American culture that there's very little representation, but yet constantly there's this talk of, you know, everyone's equally represented, or hey, we're all for equality. I think it has to start with art. Art is like our most intimate expression of who we are as people, and I'd love to see just more international work, period.
It was just like an everyday thing for me. I'm going outside, I walk up the street and I see tags on the floor, on the ground, I'll see tags on a mailbox, and it's just, who is that, what are they about, you know, their street credibility, so to speak. And it's just, going through a museum, it's the same thing. How highly regarded is this artist? Even looking down there, there's graffiti right there, and you can just see it on the wall, and you can just go down the stairs or, you know, look at high art, I guess. And it's just, who dictates where art should be?
And here are your 2 guest passes.
$75 is a lot of money to serve people. I mean, even now, you can get a lot with $75, but at the end of the day, there are paintings that cost $15 million or a painting that cost $25 million, and then they're sitting right in front of you, and it's just puts things into perspective.
To help me like get to the next point in my life, to be able to move forward and just, you know, have some extra cash in my pocket, whereas I really needed it at the time.
Tal vez si no me ofrecen que me van a pagar, tal vez no vengo. Pero después que estoy aquí, como no la pasamos bien, no podemos escapar.
Most museums were built and curated under white leadership and center white narratives of history, value, and beauty. The RISD Museum's mission states, We aspire to create an accessible and inclusive environment that builds meaningful relationships across all communities. An overwhelming majority of critics said they were moved by their visit to the museum, and yet their sense of belonging was limited by the museum's collection and the cultural standards of the space. The creators of the project are working to communicate the critiques of the museum to those in power. They are also seeking collaborators and partners to connect to the larger community of artists, activists, and museums working to effect structural change in art and its institutions.